Hey, everybody. It's Julie Roginski. I am waiting for Frederick Pogue to log in here. He's going to be here any moment. Good to see everybody here. This is, remember Taco Tuesday? I don't know, for those of you who joined us for Taco Tuesday. This is FAFO Fridays, because it's been that kind of week where Republicans FAFO'd for a long time, and now they're finding out. So that's what's happening at the moment. I'm, as I said, waiting for Frederick to get in. And thank you to everybody who was so patient with us about this. I know this was supposed to start at 1:30, but we had a little bit of confusion about the time schedule here. Here comes Frederick. Hey.
Boom.
Boom. Sorry about that.
No, I didn't respond. I thought I did.
Well, no problem. We're live. So everybody's here. We're live on Substack. We're live on YouTube. We're live everywhere. So I was talking about, Frederick, how this is FAFO Fridays.
Yes, it is. We have gone from Taco Tuesday to now FAFO Friday. And that's because it's going to be really poignant because, I mean, I don't know. Was there a big FAFO moment this week around maybe Tuesday that happened across country? I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you live in New York City. You are going to have a lot more real estate because apparently everyone was threatening to leave.
Oh, please. You know what?
Mom Donnie got elected.
You know what? He was not my cup of tea at all. Like, I'm not leaving. You know who's not leaving? Like, Andrew Cuomo said he's going to move to Florida, not move out of New York City back to Westchester where he's lived most of his life, but move. He's going to move to Florida because apparently Mondani is so awful that he's going to infect every other part of New York State and not just New York City. So he might move to Boca. Bye-bye. See you later. That's where predators go. Donald Trump moved to Florida. Go join your other fellow sex pests down there. But then you have all of these hedge fund guys who are we're going to move, we're going to leave. And then as soon as Mondani wins, they're like, well, maybe not. And
well, yeah. I mean, I love the threats that they're doing. Well, if there's rent freeze, you guys are going to be really upset because the landlords aren't going to be able to provide repairs. Oh, wow.
Well, listen, I did not necessarily get behind a lot of Mondani's policies, not because I think they're not great, but because I think they're totally unattainable for reasons that we could get into if people want. But the reality is that these people aren't moving, and they're not moving for the same reason that nobody is moving from New York. It is a really awesome place to live, especially if you have money. I could see leaving New York because it's really unaffordable.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're these hedge fund guys and you have your nice house or your nice apartment, in Central Park South, or your nice apartment on Central Park West, or your nice apartment on Park Avenue, or down in Tribeca, or I could list 20 other neighborhoods in Manhattan where they all live. The reality is they can afford to live here and they're not moving. And, it's the same nonsense about how, I remember when I think it was New Jersey raised the millionaire's tax, David Tepper, who was the number one, literally the richest guy in New Jersey, moved to Florida. And then I've heard quietly that he's come back because you know why? Florida kind of sucks. And I don't mean that for anybody who lives in Florida. I'm sorry, but if you live in New York, what are you going to do in Florida? Seriously, what are you going to do in Florida?
I mean, it's not like you guys don't get the occasional hurricane, but you don't get them every year.
We don't have alligators. We don't have hurricanes every year. We don't have soup every August, July, whatever. We don't we don't have strip malls here in New York, which is, I guess, the whole thing is just, I don't know. My attitude about Florida is, God bless. There are plenty of people who love Miami. It's not my cup of tea. But you're still living in Florida. There's it's just not the same. It's not the same. And by the way, I get the whole tax situation. I get it, but it's still not, if you love New York City, listen, New York's one of those places, Frederick, and I know you haven't spent much time here. Here's the deal about New York for people who don't know it. Either you love New York or you hate New York. There's no ambivalence about New York, right? There's none. Like either you love it or you hate it. But if you love it and you live here, nothing else compares.
Right.
And if you hate it, you wouldn't be living here anyway.
So. I mean, I would think like Florida would be ideal for Cuomo because I mean, you know, I've heard about those swinger parties they have down in the villages like that to him. I mean, right there, you know.
Like, I was, so I was in Orlando in, I don't know, like April or something. I had to be down there for family. And they decided that they wanted to go swimming with the manatees. And I was like, oh boy. So we pile in the car
right.
and we go swim with the manatees somewhere on some river 2.5, 3 hours away from Orlando. I don't even know where it was. But we're driving up whatever highway it is to get to the manatees. And all of a sudden I see the villages. I see the sign for the villages. And I get so excited because the villages are like this place that you hear about in politics all the time. I'm like, oh my God, it's here, it's here.
Yep.
So I make my husband pull off the side of the road so we could kind of drive. And all I see are these golf carts.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was just, it was exactly as I pictured it. And
yeah,
like if that's your cup of tea, listen, I get why it's people's cup of tea. Like you have a whole community down there, and everything's done for you, and you don't. There's no like living in New York is a effing slog. Like you don't have to wade through like homeless people and broken down subways and just. It's really hard living in the city, which is why you really have to love it here to live here. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. And like everything's done for you in Florida. Like you live in your development and it's, you know, whatever it is. But the reality is it's just, you know, it's Florida.
Yeah. Florida's again, it's like such a contrast. Florida is its own vibe. So is New York, you know. I mean, I've lived in Philly, which is not like it's like it's on the same line, but it's not the same as New York, right? Philly and New York are.
I like Philly.
I do like Philly too. Like Philly's kind of like somebody referred to it as like a local big town, right? So it's like most people are from like that live in Philly are from Philly.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have a lot like whereas New York is very much like people come from all over the world. To live in New York.
Yeah, New York is amazing. But I also don't feel like super down on Florida. Could I just stop you for a second? Because I just don't want people to think in the chat I see it. I'm not down on Florida. I fully understand why people live there. It's just not my cup of tea in the same way that New York is not everybody's cup of tea either. Like I get it.
Yeah.
Everywhere is good to live if it's your cup of tea.
I like Tallahassee in Florida. Tallahassee's kind of dope.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing is you've got in Miami, it's interesting. Like Miami was how for whatever reason in my mind, that's how I thought Miami was what I thought LA would look like. Really? And it's not, I don't know why. Like, because I got to Miami and I was like, oh my God, this was the town I actually wanted to live in, you know, with all the art and the food,
yeah.
And, you know, like all the palm trees and the beaches and like, yeah. So Miami's dope. I love Miami. You know, there's parts of Florida that I'm like, this place is dope, but Florida, even in the South is completely different than cause there's different parts of the South. There's like Appalachia, which is, Tennessee, like sort of, you know, if you consider them part of the South, Kentucky, West Virginia, and then there's the deep South. And, you know, that's more like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. They're kind of similar, but like Louisiana is its own vibe and Texas is its own vibe and Florida is its own vibe. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, and you've got to embrace living in Florida. It's the same thing with New York. You got to embrace it. You love it or you hate it.
Yeah, people in Texas love like they feel about Texas like New Yorkers feel about New York. Like there are people in Texas who truly are like, there's nowhere else on earth that I want to be other than Texas. And when I go down there, I'm like, okay, okay, like not my cup of tea. It doesn't mean that it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's just, I go to Austin or I go to Dallas or Houston, all of which are very different. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like not for me.
It,
That's what I mean about millionaires fleeing New York. Like, you can't just say I'm moving to Austin or I'm moving to Miami,
yeah.
um, because they have lower taxes or there's no like quote unquote socialist mayor there. Because the reality is it's a totally different vibe, and
Hmm.
it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I for the life of me, unless you're already sick of New York and you're like looking to go anyway because you just are tired of the whole grind, which I completely understand, and I'm sure I'll get there eventually, maybe. But unless you're already in that mood, moving to Austin is just it's not the same. Like, you don't have the same culture, you don't have the same amenities, you have to drive, it's just not it's not the same. There's no Central Park to go for, get lost in. It's not. And Miami can go ahead and have all these restaurants that are opening up down there that are basically Miami outposts of New York restaurants, and they're doing their very best to try to be like the New York of the South. But the truth of the matter is, they're just not. They're not.
Well, it's. I mean, the thing is, it's interesting because like I'm a native born Texan, and so
Right.
the state I've lived the least in my life is Texas, and my like for me the home my southern home is always going to be the mountains. So because I lived in East Tennessee for the longest time in my life, and I was just talking to a buddy of mine who like so because there was this Reddit thing where people were, because Mom Donnie got elected, because I don't know if you heard, there were like Kentuckians calling their Secretary of the State to say, how can we vote in the New York election to stop this socialist, right? Where you're
Was
just
it
like,
Scott
okay,
Jennings? Like, what brain trust from Kentucky decided they were going to do that? That's crazy.
right. So then they put forth this plan where they call it the Great Appalachia Secession, and it's basically all of West Virginia, some of Maryland, some of western parts of Virginia, and some of like Northeast Tennessee, and they're all rural counties, and it's like, yeah, and they would all join West Virginia, and they'd call it a new state, right? It's one of these pipe dreams, and I'm like, you know, yeah, but I don't know if people in the western part of Virginia and Maryland are going to go from say $15 for state minimum wage down to 8. That's West Virginia. I don't think they're going to do that. Or like in Maryland, the rural health clinics are for the state. There's state laws that say they have to be funded. Like so, that's part of Maryland. So they still have rural healthcare clinics. That's outside of the Medicaid expansion. So that's going to go away too. Yeah. So I think once people get into the great MAGA Appalachia state and they realize, oh damn, we're impoverished severely. It's like,
By the way, I'm just looking at
yeah.
this chat right now. John Pollock, you said you've only ever lived in Western Massachusetts. I got to know where in Western Massachusetts you lived, because my favorite place, everybody's got their like place that they love. Like, what's yours, Frederick? Like, what's your happy place in the United States?
I mean, I've kind of lived all over, and eventually, like, I kind of, I get to where, like, I like different things about each different place I've lived in. Um,
So,
I try to find something to really love about it. Right now, you know, I, I mean, it's tough because I've like there's things that I've like been I honestly like I still have an affinity for the DC area.
right.
I don't know why. I think that's kind of wearing off. Like in Colorado.
Colorado is.
Oh, is that me?
No, what happened?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, go ahead. So, Colorado.
I hope I won't get this feedback. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
No, Colorado is growing on me. It's like my favorite place now.
That's great. That's awesome.
The food really, no, it needs to be better. But like, that's the problem is I've gotten food in New York and Philly, and yeah, so it's a problem.
So my favorite place, where I'm happiest, and Jen, you said you live in Palmer. and I think that is a little east of where I had a house for a long time. But the place that makes me really happiest whenever I go up there, and I did have a house up there for a long time, and sadly had to get rid of it because it was a little too far to travel with my son's soccer schedule. But the place that I just adore is the Berkshires.
Yeah.
I had a house in on the border of Lee and Lenox, Massachusetts, for people that know Western Massachusetts. And I was so like every time I would go there and I would see the mountains and just breathe the air, like it was like I would just get exhausted, but in the best way possible. Like just all the stuff would just like exhale out of me. And I was so, 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 so happy being there. And I always say, like, I would just potentially pick up and just move to Western Massachusetts if I could. Like, if I ever left New York and I was not married, and my husband would agree to do this, and I don't think he ever would.
Well, he did agree to stop at the Villages, so you never know.
We have to stop at the Villages, not to check it out though. Not to check it out though.
I mean, something what it says is he can be persuaded.
He could be. He could be. He was like, "Why are you obsessed with these people in golf carts?" I was like, "Oh my god!" It was literally like seeing people in their state of nature. I'm like, "It's here, it's here," and every little pond would be like, be wary of alligators, or like whatever sign they'd have, like beware of alligators. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the most Florida place with little golf carts and alligators." It was great. It was fantastic, and yeah. So, go ahead.
And no, if I wasn't living in Colorado, I mean, and this, because and I could just in the United States, if the state wasn't such a hellhole, I would consider moving to Morgantown, West Virginia, because that's where the college is at, and it's one of the most. West Virginia has some of the most beautiful mountains and valleys, and like these small little towns that are, just like almost like one road towns, and they're like set in the hollers and the hills. It's just gorgeous. The other one would be probably in the Pacific Northwest, somewhere. If I was going to do a city, it'd probably be like Portland. Yeah. I've never been to Portland, but I want to go to Portland.
You were like, I want to live in the city. I've never been to the city, but I want to live in that city.
I just like the vibe. It's like Austin, when I was there for 3 months, Austin was one of the cities that, like, from the moment I got there, I loved it. And I have this, and I kind of like that weird kind of kitschiness vibe. I would kind of dig that. And so, like, Portland to me has a similar vibe to Austin. Like, I mean, if I was going to live anywhere in Texas, it would be Austin. I'm like,
I did not love Austin. I got to be honest with you.
I love Austin.
I thought Austin was like Williamsburg, like a borough. There's a borough.
Oh yeah, Williamsburg. Yeah.
Yeah, and Williamsburg's a neighborhood in Brooklyn. And I kind of was like, this is like Brooklyn. Like, this is like Williamsburg. And so, yeah, I will say the place that makes me happiest in the world is London. Like, I love London.
I've been to London. Yeah.
And when I was single, and before I had my son, whenever I was in a bad mood or something bad was happening to me, I would literally, because I had a little bit of disposable income since I had nothing else to spend it on, since I had no children, I would find a cheapo flight to London, and I would hop a flight to London for like 4 or 5 days, which I understand is incredibly privileged. And I would just go there, and I would, because I love British history. And there's very specific places in London that would make me happy. The National Portrait Gallery makes me really happy.
Oh yeah.
And Westminster Abbey makes me really happy because I love seeing graves of dead royal family people going back to like the Plantagenet era, not because of them, not because they're dead, but because I like should have a PhD in like medieval British history, because that's my jam. So I loved and still do love London. And I wish I could be in London this weekend. It's the absolute best. And, it's just, it's fantastic.
I've been to London. People are saying in the chat, Edinburgh. I would love to.
Edinburgh is fantastic.
Edinburgh's on the list. I've never been to Edinburgh, but I want to go.
Edinburgh looks like something out of Harry Potter. Edinburgh is amazing.
Edinburgh looks dope. I absolutely loved Paris when I visited Paris. Like, Paris is just, awesome. And I loved Amsterdam. And I liked Amsterdam because Amsterdam feels like a super chill city. You know,
Amsterdam's a super chill city. I haven't been there in a couple of decades, but Amsterdam's a really chill city for sure.
I
Um,
remember just sitting in by a canal, and my girlfriend and I at the time we bought a bottle of wine. I think we sat there for like 2 hours. We just didn't want to get up and move,
yeah,
you know. And it was just like it was almost like there was like a meditative aspect to it, you know.
yeah.
And I love that, you know. Like, you know, I personally like I kind of like the energy of New York, you know. But the thing about New York that I liked when I was there is just you feel like you can't get your all you can't wrap your whole arms around it, you know. And there's always something to get into, like there's always something to discover, there's always something that's shifting, you know, there's always something that's moving and kinetic, and like you've got to really I think you got to like that vibe,
I
you
think
know.
New York is very much um, a city comprised of, forget the boroughs, of different neighborhoods, and every neighborhood has its own vibe, and you just got to find the neighborhood vibe that works for you. Like you can find anything in New York. It's just a question of what kind of vibe you want, right? If you want something quiet and kind of chill, there's one place to go. If you want something, if you want to party like a rock star, there's other places to go. And it's like it's all in one city. And it's a city that is able to have so many different kinds of um, components to it. And I think, going back to the Mandani
Mm.
election, what I find so fascinating about him is he was able to put a coalition together of all of these different people. If you look at the map of where
Yeah.
he fell, and I'm just talking about Manhattan, never mind Brooklyn, where he romped, he killed it, Queens, where he's from, and he really killed it. I don't know if he's from there, but that's what he represents. Um, I think he lost Staten Island, but he won everything else, and he won it. If you look at the neighborhoods that he won, except for the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which I think he lost because that's very affluent, and they voted for Cuomo. It's really incredible the coalitions that he put together.
Hmm.
I don't know the other boroughs as well as I know Manhattan, so I can only speak for Manhattan. But like, he did well downtown. He did well uptown. He did well in the Bronx. He did well among wealthier, not the wealthiest, but wealthier neighborhoods. He did well among the poorest neighborhoods. Like he just did well everywhere, everywhere.
Hmm.
Um, so really just amazing.
I think from the outside looking in, and again, I haven't dove into the numbers, and I don't live in New York, so like, but what Mamdani's election looked like was really about up down instead of left right, and I think for a lot of people, as you mentioned, for New York, it's extremely expensive. People are being priced out. It's very hard to live there and work there, especially if you're working class. And like for like say a lot of MAGA who saw Donald Trump as, hey, he's our guy that's going to sort of balance the scales, even
Mhm.
with all his flaws. I think Mamdani is sort of cast in that light, and they're hoping that that they can start maybe shifting because a lot of the things he's talked about are needed and practical, whether they work or not. I mean, I don't know how many was it, like 4 city run grocery stores. I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have, but and I know they're a pilot, but this is after the private market, like the private sector couldn't come in.
Yeah,
They couldn't get it done. So now they're sorry about that.
all right.
I'm getting my dings on, you know, but they're they're not. I don't see like or free busing, and really the people who are going to use the busing
Not
are
gonna happen.
really yeah, they're not going to be millionaires. They're not going to be
Oh no,
billionaires.
it's not gonna happen. I mean, free busing. I mean, listen, if it happens, God bless. But
Yeah.
the MTA here is so broke to begin with. They just raise, they keep raising fares. They just instituted the first congestion pricing scheme in New York, in the country, so to fund the MTA because it's so broke. Um, the subways don't run well. To say that you are now going to take money out of all of that and put it into free busing,
Yeah.
is going to be really, really difficult. And then you're going to have to ask the question, why are subway riders subsidizing the bus riders? And it's just, it's a good campaign slogan, but I don't know where he's going to get the money to do that. And there's not enough millionaires he can tax. So we'll see.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's like they're going to have to how much they deliver on. Because I mean, you and I know this from campaigns. It's like you have sort of like the grand vision of where you want to go, and then what you can actually deliver on. And it's so much harder to change status quo and push the ball forward than it is to just maintain it. And so it's that I think is going to be, it'll be interesting to see what he's going to do. I mean, I think he's got some bold ideas. Now, I don't know if he's gonna be able to deliver on it. We'll see. I'm anything that helps working folks, I'm for it. So because I mean they have to live in that city. They have to make, like, the people that make the place run, have to actually be able to live there. So we'll see. I don't know. But I think that's going to be the challenge of whatever, like, moving forward is like, what, all I'll say to the people that are as voracious as vocal with their support now, you better keep that same energy because it's going to get tough. The work's got to start.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of people supported him because he made very concrete promises. He's going to, freeze rent hikes. He's going to have free buses.
Yeah.
All of the stuff, and he's going to raise taxes on millionaires. All of that, for the most part, needs to be approved by the legislature, and the legislature is not comprised of New Yorkers for the most part. And also, he's got a governor who's running for re-election next year. Is she going to want to do that? Now, maybe because she's going to have probably a Democratic primary, so she might want to move tack to the left. But on the other hand, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And if he does raise taxes on millionaires, and by millionaires, it's going to be anybody making $1 million or more a year. This is going to sound insane for me to say this. In New York City, $1 million in New York does not go as far as $1 million in, I don't know, Texas for that matter.
Sure.
And I'm not defending this. I mean, if they want to raise taxes on millionaires to fund some of these priorities, great. He also talked about free childcare for everybody, which would be fantastic. I mean, listen, as a mom, like, nothing would have made me happier than to have free childcare, and then universal pre-K, which was passed by Bill de Blasio, the previous mayor. Unfortunately, came 1 year too late for me. But it's great. I mean, it really gives people, it's fantastic. Universal pre-K is great. And it saves people a tremendous amount of money. And he's talking about free childcare from 0 to 3. I mean, these are all really expensive campaign promises, and I'm very curious to see how much he thinks he's going to be able to raise in order to get all those priorities funded. And people are going to expect him to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of bullish on him. I'm hopeful that he'll get some, because I like to see Democrats with bold visions, right?
I agree. I want him to succeed. I really do.
I do too. I want to see if he can do it. I mean, alternatively, what I will do my part though, Julie, I'm in the midst of putting together a packet right now for, million plus fleeing New York single women to Colorado. And, like, I have, rooms to rent, all kinds of stuff. I can set all that up. I'm putting together packets now and be like, here's all the wonderful things of, of Colorado. And, we've got a good football team and a good basketball team, and don't worry about the baseball team. We got a good hockey team, but don't worry about the baseball team. Like, just don't even, no, don't do that. But you can still see the Yankees when they come to town. You know.
No, I think I'll stick to watching them at Yankee Stadium. But
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, well, you're married. I'm talking about single women that are going to, say, oh, I can't pay them taxes. I got a remote work. I'm like, well, I got you up here now. It's like,
well, wait a second. Does Colorado have a like? Is it worth it financially to move to Colorado? Like, if I'm going to flee for money, I'm not fleeing to Colorado. You guys still have a income tax. Like, I'm fleeing places where there's no income tax.
I mean, well, it depends. If you're buying a house, maybe not as much. It's like cost of living here is pretty high. So
yeah, I know. You know where I went a couple of months ago that was so beautiful. Have you ever been to Sedona, Arizona?
No. Yes, I have been to Sedona.
It's gorgeous.
Yep, Sedona's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about Sedona, and I'm all about all these, like, I went there and I was like, maybe I should move to Sedona. Like, you always go places and you're like, wow, this is really nice. And then I said, okay, then I'll be living in Sedona. And then if I want to go somewhere that's not Sedona, where am I going to go?
You can always move to Hatch, New Mexico, where they got them Hatch chilies.
What is Hatch, New Mexico?
It's where they make Hatch chilies. It's like they got the chili factory there, and you can get out of your car, and then the chilies hit your nostrils because it's just kind of spicy in the air. It's kind of awesome,
Cynthia writes, you said, flew to Pittsburgh. I actually have a house in Pennsylvania on the other side of Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh's dope.
I've never been to Pittsburgh. Everybody says Pittsburgh is amazing. My husband went to the Rolling Stone show in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago and came back super impressed. He was really into it.
No, it's dope. Like Pittsburgh, and they've done a lot to like kind of revitalize the city. It's nice. Pittsburgh's kind of one of those those kind of hidden gems in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And their food scene's really good. Like, I mean, like it depends what kind of food you like, but their food scene's real good. So
Frederick, we are now entering the, and I want to just talk about this for a few minutes and then I got to jet, but we're entering the trillionaire era of the universe where we just minted our first trillionaire named Elon Musk.
I mean, on paper, I guess. Yeah.
On paper, but still, the fact that he has the ability to do this is crazy train. Like, that's insane. And that guy is not paying any money in taxes.
Nope.
And he's creating his own little city down there in Texas where he can do whatever he wants. It's crazy.
I think I personally think that we're entering the turning point of where the rich, like, I think this is the beginning of the end, right? Like if I'm writing the history of this moment now, again, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm looking at the unsustainability of it. Is you look at Donald Trump's weird photo from the Oval Office where he's standing there and there's people attending to somebody who passed out. And, he just looks annoyed that he can't take his little photo up. And you've got Elon Musk, who's like, I don't know how much value and market capitalization Tesla's lost, but they're still going to make, well, I guess because he controls so much of it. It's just, I'm a trillionaire now. It's like, well, good for you, buddy. But I think I think what's happening now is, and why people are pushing, I think where we're going to see this come out is this: people are tired of the billionaires. They're tired of the rich.
Market capitalization Tesla's lost, but
like getting over on us, And I think that you are going to see, I think when the Epstein files finally come out, that's going to be the thing that they're going to use to cudgel them. Because if the financials are true, even half of what they're saying, Epstein was in so many places.
Yeah.
And David Schuster dropped this, I was talking on Twitter that they're saying in the DOJ, it's even worse than we know now or think. Like it's bad.
Wait, David Schuster said what? The DOJ, who said it?
So he said that there's pictures of Trump, that there's so much you can't even get rid of it, where the sources are leaking that there's Trump with half-naked young underage girls.
Yeah.
That it's worse than anything we think. And then even the emails that have come out with the Morgan Stanley emails with Jeffrey Epstein are just horrendous, where they're basically like, yeah, we know this guy, and I got this from a talk with Ellie Leonard. For those of you who don't know, like if you're on Substack, Ellie Leonard is one of the folks that's really doing a lot of good work on this stuff with Epstein. And she was saying that, like, I mean, they're just straight up weird. Like the Morgan Stanley CEO was like, oh, I really enjoyed that hug I got from you, Jeffrey. Like, what? Like, but more to the point, it's like they knew he was a sex trafficker. Like they knew it.
Everybody knew it, and nobody.
Yeah, they knew it, and they said, "Oh, well, we're making money." And then 3 days later, after he died, they go, "Yeah, there might be some." Then they reported it. Oh, there might be some things about this guy that were a little, yeah.
Everybody knew it. The whole thing is a total scam,
right?
And it's gross, and look, eventually it's gonna come out. Eventually, it's gonna come out, and the part that's insane is like, you have an entire government that is committed to destroying all of this evidence. And the question for me is, like, what are we doing with that? What are we doing? What are we like? Because I have no faith whatsoever that any evidence of Trump's wrongdoing exists anymore. The only thing I would say is there are 1,000 people in the Southern District of New York who were essentially mandated a few months ago to line by line go through all the Epstein stuff and flag all mentions of Donald Trump. And maybe one of them took some notes before the stuff was destroyed, but there's a possibility this stuff does not exist anymore.
I think it's still, I think there's just so much of it that no matter what you do, you're not going to get rid of all of it. And like, I mean, here's my sort of hopeful take from horribleness, right? Is we are going to see, like, the economy that we're entering in now is in such uncharted territory when, if it crashes, and it looks like that's likely, the pain is going to be so widespread that they're not going to be able to really fix it right away. Because I mean, even with the Great Recession and the 2008 crash, you were bailing out like the banks, right? You were bailing out one facet of the economy. It was a massive crash, but that's what you bailed out. If everything crashes all at once, how do you bail out everything? You just can't. So you can't bail out aviation and trucking and manufacturing and farmers and housing and banks. Like, you can't do it all. So, and when that starts to, if it goes that way, you are going to have, people are going to want something to rally to and say, this is it. Because they're going to be at a point where they're going to want to tear the system down. Like, they're getting close to that. And I think Mamdani's sort of like, whether he can pull off what he can or not, like, that vote represents, we have to change the system. I don't think people are there at where we want to tear it down because we're just viscerally angry. Once that stuff comes out with Epstein and that drops and it's shown to be so widespread, people are going to be like, okay. And it's just going to be, let's rip it down. That we don't care what happens. We're just going to rip it. We're just going to rip it out by the roots. That point, it's going to get spicy. I don't know what's going to happen.
And let me tell you this: while they're talking about Epstein and while they're trying to protect their fellow billionaires who are all in the Epstein files, today on Friday, this fucking administration. I mean, I'm sorry to curse, but this is just absurd.
Gasp.
Gasp. I know. Asked the Federal Appeals Court to halt a judicial order to preserve SNAP benefits for people during the shutdown. They're literally going to court to deny people food. What kind of leader who is supposed to represent the people of this country would deny people food? And by the way, the money exists. It is in a segregated fund that Congress long ago created in case of shutdowns to ensure that people can still be fed. And this administration is challenging that ruling.
Yeah.
I mean, what is wrong with this person? Like, how much do you have to hate everybody but yourself?
Mhm.
Not just not care about. He hates the people in this country. He hates everybody who's not a fellow billionaire like him.
I think he even hates them too. You know,
Probably.
like
mean,
I think I don't. Trump is kind of fascinating at this moment in history because it's pretty clear he could care less about what his base thinks of him, um what the party's gonna do. Like he's just like, I'm done. Like I'm checked out.
And yeah, and to be clear, I just want to be really clear. There are two pots of money, right? There's
Mhm.
5 billion in emergency reserve funding that Congress specifically enacted for SNAP, right? So there's 5 billion sitting there. There's a second pot of money at the Agriculture Department from the tariffs that Donald Trump is saying is bringing all this money into the country. So,
Which that looks like the Supreme Court's going to rule against him.
Okay, but fine. But the point is, at least you have $5 billion and you have this pot of money now until the Supreme Court rules against him.
Yeah.
So why in the world would you not use this money to let people live, literally live? You are in the richest country history has ever known. And yet this guy is running to court to prevent people from being fed.
Yeah, and it's and I mean the only thing I can think of at this point, is just Trump is so deranged, so malignantly narcissistic. He really believes the U.S. government is his company. So when he's going on TV and talking about SNAP, he's like, "Oh, we have a liquidity problem in the United States." It's like, dude, what do you mean we have a liquidity? We print money. Like, there's no, we're not a company where it's like, oh, we don't have really high cash reserves right now. No, we print money. And we used to be the reserve standard of the world. We're barely hanging on to that. But the dollar, treasury yields and bonds have dropped significantly under your watch, dude. So, and that's a direct result of the tariffs and everything else. And it's like, feeding people. And again, the thing about SNAP is, and I want to emphasize this point. Every dollar that gets spent on SNAP not only brings down grocery prices because you're injecting $6 billion basically into the grocery economy, for CPI, with just food, but it has a multiplier effect. It's one of the few things that has a multiplier effect for stimulus. So every dollar we put into SNAP, it has, I think it's like 1.25 or maybe some places 1.5, because people go out and spend it, and that creates jobs. So, it's, and again, it's just ethically right. It's like, it's little kids, it's seniors. I had my ex-girlfriend's, her grandfather was in World War II. He got Meals on Wheels, and it wasn't anything fancy, but it was something. And that's one of those things that you just look at that from a human perspective or a political optics, whatever. It makes no sense. It's stupid.
Yeah. And what else is interesting to me is that at the same time this is happening, and Alex Hitsanos in the chat mentioned this, and you used to work for the airlines. Hear your views on this. 20% now. 20% of flights are canceled.
Yeah, they're like, they said they're going to be 3, but then I think different reports and different ones are saying is, and what's kind of fascinating about this is the carriers are saying it's not going to really impact them as far as travel. And the sad part is that's because they've already had record low passengers from Trump destroying the air travel and tourism industry, because now we're in off season. But here's the other thing that a lot of people, where we're getting ready to brace for impact when we get to quote unquote 10% cuts on air traffic controller. So here's the bad part. Doge cut a lot of those ATC positions earlier this year. And that was like, and And then of course, like a few days later, we had that the worst air collision since 9/11. It was like the worst air deaths and accident. It was that flight from Wichita. I can't remember the flight where it was coming in. It was coming into DCA on approach, and the Army helicopter was crossing the airspace. They collided, and it was like 115 people died. That was on Sean Duffy's watch, and then they tried to say, well, he's only been in the job for a week. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that. We give people a pass for that. When catastrophes happen. Here's the other part when you start closing down aerospace is that also affects cargo. And a significant chunk of cargo that moves around the country is from air cargo. When I worked for American Airlines as an operations manager. I got that position in 2014, 2015. Air cargo was becoming such a good revenue stream for American Airlines. They created a C-suite position for cargo. They'd never done that. So even with their, you flying on a passenger plane, a 787 or whatever, even with your bags, there's still cargo that goes on that aircraft. And that could be anything from U.S. mail. It could be like flower delivery, whatever. Or it could be, organs for medical transport that have to get somewhere. So all that is going to be cut. That's not including UPS and FedEx and all these. And we're getting into the holiday season. And we already got hit back in April with the closure of the ports and everything else and all that tariff stuff that hit. It's going to make it even worse. And this is not something that you can just, because we're really, for cargo, it's already started for this season. So if you cut that back even by 10% right now, man, if you're ordering Christmas supplies and suddenly they start tricking up, you'll know why. It's because of that.
Yeah.
And it's going to have an economic impact because people are like, man, it's okay. Well, I guess like, man, I've got a little bit of scratch, but it's going to take, this long to get here. Like, oh, okay. I can't do that. No, I'm not going to order it. Well, we just won't get that. And if you do that a couple 100 million times, so yeah, it's just like with SNAP benefits, it's one of the most boneheaded things you can do for an economic impact. At this point, I don't know if they're trying to crash the economy on purpose and retribution. I don't know what they're doing.
Either that or it's a crypto play. I don't know. It's just, it's absurd. So I will tell you, it is. I'm ready to, I'm ready to say this. Usually you'd have the president of the United States going to court to fight on behalf of the American people. If there's death, this guy is going to court to prevent people from eating. I don't understand what kind of person you elected. I don't care if you're a MAGA person. And by the way, they're doing this because they think this is somehow going to bring Democrats to the table because they're hurting Democratic constituencies. The number one state to rely on SNAP benefits by percentage of population is New Mexico. That is a Democratic state. The second state to rely on SNAP benefits by percentage of population is a little state called Louisiana, home of a certain somebody named Mike Johnson. So I don't know why they think this is hurting Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. It is. New York is being impacted, of course. But more people as a percentage of population in Louisiana are being impacted than here in New York. So I don't know why Mike Johnson thinks that suddenly these softies, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, are going to break and just take no deal after this. If they do, there's going to be a revolt on the right and the left that's going to be extreme, because the reality is they have made it clear they're not relenting without Obamacare subsidies. And these guys have the temerity to say that, oh yeah, just reopen government and we'll negotiate Obamacare subsidies. You could be negotiating Obamacare subsidies now.
Right.
What are you waiting for the government to reopen? Do it now and then we'll all go home happy. But, but they have no intention of negotiating subsidies. If they did, they would be doing it right now. They would have done it for the last month.
Yeah. I mean, and part of me wants to think, is it is it a play? Is it this? I really think it's just that you've got these idiots in positions of power, and they didn't think it would go this far.
Nope.
And now they're stuck, and they don't know what to do. So they're like, well, if we keep doubling down, maybe the Democrats will tank. And there's no reason to tank now. You overperformed in this last election. Clearly the Democrats are not getting blamed for it. Clearly.
Yeah.
So at this point, what I think what baffles me is why there is not a Republican revolt at this point. Like Tom Massey's doing it, so is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm shocked that there's not lower house members like forming just a caucus and saying, no, we're good, we're breaking, like we're ready to go. Like, look, we're gonna vote out Mike Johnson. Like, we're just gonna call a vote of no confidence and get him out.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see the Republican Party we have one political party that's what baffles my mind is like they are an extension of one guy who is obviously in poor health, is demented and feeble and corrupt. And once he goes, like, what's your plan then?
Well, good luck, JT Vance, because nobody likes you. And everybody, South Park nailed it, right? He's basically Tattoo having secret conversations with Peter Thiel about taking over the world. But
do you see what happened to his brother in Cincinnati?
Oh yeah, his brother got wiped out. Everybody hates you, JT Vance. Even the people in Cincinnati, in your home state of Ohio, hate you. Everybody.
Even his wife hates him.
You know what? His wife should hate him because the way he talks about his wife in front of his wife is insane. And frankly, I don't think it is inappropriate for her to take the kids and leave. Because if that were my husband and he ever spoke to me or about me that way in public, that would be the last conversation we would have. And I would actually leave to show my son that you don't put up with this kind of shit. But she obviously is not doing that. And I guess I guess I feel sorry for her, except I don't, because she's got free agency. She's a successful woman in her own right, and nobody's keeping her there any more than anybody's keeping Melania there. Like, you could leave.
Well, she's gonna get recast. It's pretty obvious, like they're gonna.
You know what? If she gets recast,
yeah,
then shame on him, because he had a Hindu wedding, and he had 3 kids, all of whom I believe have Indian names. And he really leaned into her culture. And I actually think that was the most endearing and nice thing about him. But that was then, right? That was then, because he thought the Indian community could bring something to him. And, she doesn't look happy. I'm sure she kind of wakes up every day wondering how the hell this became her life. This is certainly not what she signed up for, I don't think, when she met him in law school. But, you also have agency. And I know it's really, I've never gone through it, but I know it's really, 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 really hard to leave when you have kids. It's hard to leave, period, but it's really hard to leave kids, right?
Oh, yeah.
I get it. And you want to do the right thing for the kids, and you don't want to have, you want to have an intact house. And especially when you're living under such a microscope, you especially don't want to do anything to disrupt the kids. But the bottom line is, if my husband ever, again, I'm in the same situation. I've talked about this before. I'm in the same situation that she's in. I'm Jewish. My husband is Catholic. My husband goes to church every Sunday that he can get there. And I go with him a lot, not because he makes me, not because he demands it, not because we have kids who go to church with us, because we don't. My son is being raised Jewish, so he never comes to church with us, but because I know how much the church gives my husband comfort. And I love my husband. And so I accompany him there in order to just sort of, not, no pun intended, to kind of be in communion with him as he is in a place that gives him peace of mind. And, I don't get on my knees on the little kneeler.
I got you.
Prie-Dieu. Yeah, nice try. On the Prie-Dieu, I don't take communion. I don't do the the Our Father and all the other stuff. I just sit there for an hour, and I have no intention of converting to Catholicism. It
Mhm.
does not resonate for me. I like going there because I like going there with him. And to some extent, it gives me an hour of just to think about something other than what I think about 24/7 anyway. It gives me an hour to focus on something spiritual, although it is not particularly spiritual for me. So, if my husband ever got up and gave a public speech based on everything I just said to you and
Mhm.
said, "Hey, you know what? My wife goes to church with me. She knows better because she goes to church with me, but she won't convert. And because she won't convert, I guess implicitly she's going to hell, but that's okay. She's got free will. That's her decision to make that decision to go to hell," right? Which is basically what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, if my husband ever said, and he said that at a Turning Point USA event in front of Erica Kirk and all of these crazy Christian nationalists. And if my husband ever said that at any point, I don't care if my husband said that to me privately, but if he ever got up in public and said something like that, basically implying that I'm going to go to hell because I don't believe in Jesus Christ the way that he does, and that I have free will, so it's my decision to affirmatively choose to go to hell, like that. I mean, we would, I don't know. I don't really have any deal breakers with my husband because I love him, but we would have serious issues in our marriage, like serious issues. And
Well,
I,
I mean, and he's, he said that, so that gives him the out for his own base, so he can divorce his wife and hook up with Erica Kirk, and they could become, the new, Ken and Barbie for white nationalism. No offense to Barbie or,
okay,
Ken.
yeah,
I mean, it is hard when you have kids to go through a divorce. Like my ex-wife and I had kids. I don't have them anymore because I didn't want them to suffer that. So I gave them the stick with the picnic thing, and, I sent them on their way. They're riding the rails now. They're living the
you
hobo
never
life.
had kids. Stop. Glad that you know about at least. Stop.
No, I actually, I that I would, if I ever did have a child, I would be there for a child,
Yeah.
but that's also why they issue and make condoms.
Well, okay. But yeah, look, I just, the whole thing to me is, it's disrespectful, I guess,
Yeah.
is
Oh, highly,
and
highly
yes, if my husband were that disrespectful to me in front of somebody else,
in front of the world.
in front of the
You know.
world, in front of people who are cheering me on, or cheering him on, I should say, for what he's saying, because they are all in agreement with him, and I'm like the one sitting in the front row, like the little, other person.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a woman who went to Yale Law School. I think she went to Yale undergrad, and that's not to say that she's better than anybody else because she went to law school, but like this is a deeply accomplished woman who clerked for the Supreme Court, who was a partner at a major white shoe law firm. And again, this does not make her better than anybody else who didn't go to college, didn't go to law school, didn't clerk for the court, didn't, become a successful lawyer. But the point is, she's not some little lady who's like, stand by your man because I've got nothing else in my life. She could go and make $1 billion. She doesn't need to rely on him financially. The kids don't need to rely on him financially. He's the vice president of the United States. He could afford child support. Like, there are things that you just like. I wouldn't want my kids to see my husband talk to me that way,
No.
because if you have, especially if you have sons, which they do, I believe, I think they do. If you have sons, you do not want to see your boys. You don't want to raise your boys thinking this is how you treat women. Like
Well, and
that.
here.
That's, by the way, that is the key to me. That is the key to why I think my husband and I have such a good relationship. Part of it, well, for many reasons, but part of it legitimately is that I am deeply happy that my son is growing up in a household where he sees a husband treat a wife the way that my husband and I treat each other. And if that ever were to change, if my husband suddenly had a personality transplant, as JD Vance apparently did, changed his name to something else other than his real name twice or 3 times or 4 times, however many times JD Vance had this. But if my husband went through this complete transformation where he decided to throw away everything that I think he believed in, including his name, and become something else over and over again, and then turned on me that publicly, I would go purely to show my kids that this is not how you are supposed to ever treat your wife. Ever.
Well, and on that point, like here's how I look at it from sort of my view on manhood, right? Or just being a leader is if this is how he publicly treats his wife, the mother of his children, the woman he's made vows with, that he has committed himself to, what's he going to do for us? If this is how he acts, and this is the kind of man he is, right? What's he going to do? He'll just say whatever is popular. Okay. So I guess if fascism for his base becomes popular, then he's going to do it. Instead of, he's not going to be John McCain when, the woman is up out of the crowd and say, oh, he's a Muslim. He says, no, and he's telling, no, he's a good man. He's a family man. He's not that guy. I don't want him as president. I don't want him leading anything because he's a man of low character, because if that's how you treat your wife in public, sir, like, no, you're kind of a piece of shit at that point, and I don't want anything to do with you. You know?
Well, Michelle Kinney always says this. He is the talented Mr. Ripley. Like, that's who she married.
Yeah.
She married the talented Mr. Ripley. And, I got to tell you, this guy is terrifying to me. Donald Trump, at least, what you see is what you get, right? Like,
right.
Where he's coming from. He's out of his mind, cuckoo bird, insane, but he's always been that way. And especially if you lived in the New York media market, you have known Donald Trump since the 80s. This guy has been around basically for the last 50 years. You kind of know what you know what he is. It's not nothing good, but you know what he is. J.D. Vance, I mean, South Park I don't know if folks watched South Park last week, but South Park was completely inappropriate. I cannot believe they actually put that on TV. I loved it, but I made the mistake of letting my 13-year-old watch it with me. And when the tweezers,
with Pam Bondi? Oh, that's great.
No, not Pam Bondi. When the tweezers came out with Trump, I don't know if you remember that. I was like, oh my God. And my son is cracking up, and I'm like, oh my God, why are you laughing? Why do you even know what this is about? So the whole thing
because he's 13.
Yeah, the whole thing was horrifying to watch with your 13-year-old son. I did not expect that. I'm a shitty mother, and I'm sorry to anybody.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. But putting that aside, the tattoo thing was, I mean, all of it was priceless, but the tattoo thing was priceless, where he's sucking up to Trump, basically completely like Hervé Villechaize there on Fantasy Island. And then the minute Trump, kind of calms Trump down, gives him the tweezers and lets him go to work, he goes into the other room or the closet. He actually goes into the closet, which is hilarious for a number of reasons, and calls Peter Thiel. And having this whole discussion with Peter Thiel about how to take over the world. And that is exactly what is happening. That is exactly what is happening. And I think J.D. Vance, Jennifer Willett, I agree with you. I think J.D. Vance is worse than Donald Trump. I think he's much more dangerous than Donald Trump. I think he is controlled by a cabal of people that Donald Trump is not controlling. Donald Trump is just controlled by people who put money in his crypto fund. But this guy is controlled by these crazy theocratic end of timers who truly believe like we're all going to be biofueled for them, and they're going to live in their, they're going to have these non-democratic like monarchy type things that are going to be consisting of
or their underground bunkers and
no, I mean, like this is crazy train, you guys.
Oh, like,
this is insane, and I mean insane. And so I just want to be very clear that J.D. Vance, under no circumstances, could become president, which means that, as much as I hate to say it, let's all pray for Donald Trump's health. Like, I don't know what else to say here. Like, it's that batshit.
Yeah.
We just need to get through the next 3 years without a nuclear war obliterating us all, or something else happening, or like a famine, like a biblical famine, or the locusts, or the 10 plagues, or whatever else you have, and just pray to God that we could get rid of the scourge. But J.D. Vance, oh my God, is just a nightmare.
I'm just kind of hopeful. If there is a nuclear war, I hope the radiation hits me in the right way so I can become the ghoul from, played by Walter Goggins from Fallout.
I did not see this, but we met Walter Goggins at the Webbies this year.
Really?
Yes. We were sitting, I think, at the table next to Walter Goggins, and Tara Setmayer was like, I'm going to go up and say hi. And we're all like, Joe Acosta and I and Michelle.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We want to say hi, but we don't really want to say hi. We're too embarrassed.
Should have said hi. Did you?
And no, so Tara Setmayer runs over to him and she introduced herself. And so we all walk over there and we spend a good, I don't know, 10 minutes talking to him. He was the nicest, most humble, awesome guy. He was just such a good guy. And just was asking us about what we do and what we're doing. And he was just, I'm all about Walter Goggins. Unfortunately, the only thing I've ever seen him in is White Lotus. So I can't.
Oh my God.
I know.
You should absolutely watch Fallout.
Is that like end of life
thing? Yeah, so it's based on a video game, but it's very much like, it's kind of what all these billionaires are like shooting for. They updated it where it was it came out in the 90s after the Cold War, and it's sort of a parody on this like conservatism and this nuclear stuff where it's like you've got, you're living in this vault, like it's the survivors of a nuclear holocaust 200 years after the fact.
Yeah.
And they come back, so everybody is descendants of people who live in these massive underground vaults, and they all wear blue jumpsuits and eat basically spam, and we're going to go out and refound America. And they get out and it's a wasteland. And Walter Goggins plays a character called the Ghoul. And it is an insanely good and topical series. They have done an amazing job. It's nominated for 17 Emmys. So it's on Prime, and the second season is getting ready to come out. So I highly recommend it. Maybe don't watch it. It's on Prime, so it's got a lot of it's got some graphic violence in it. So maybe don't watch it with your 13-year-old son unless he's into graphic violence. I don't know. I watched Rambo with my dad when I was 8 years old. So I had a very different childhood. But I don't know if that's comforting to you, because then I ended up like this. So.
I've never seen Rambo.
Really? First Blood? You've never seen First Blood?
Never seen Rambo. I've never seen Rocky.
What? You've never seen Rocky?
I've never seen Rocky.
What?
I know.
Really?
What's crazy?
Rocky's a love story. It's great.
I know. It's one of those movies that I'm like, I should see Rocky, but when are you really practically going to sit down and be like, let me watch Rocky? This doesn't happen. It's like not that I'm comparing Rocky to Schindler's List, but my best friend has never seen Schindler's List, and I was like, oh my God, you've never seen Schindler's List? And she said, okay, when in my life am I going to sit down and be like, you know what? This is a good time to watch
Schindler's List. Let's do it.
This is a good time. You know what I'm in the mood for? It's Saturday night. Get out the popcorn. You know what I'm in the mood for? It's Schindler's List.
Schindler's List.
So
even Seinfeld had the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry.
So exactly. So
they were making out during it, and it's Uncle Leo saw him.
Yeah, exactly. So she said, no, not Uncle. Yes, Uncle. No, it wasn't Uncle Leo. Oh, yes, Uncle Leo saw him. That's right.
Yeah.
And also Newman. No, Newman saw him.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, Newman. Yeah, Newman saw him.
Newman ratted him out to his girlfriend's father. The father made her break up. Yeah.
Schindler's is tough, man.
Yeah.
Schindler's is.
I've seen that movie a bunch of times, but not.
I saw it once. That was it.
I saw it in the movie theater, and then I saw it again a few times. But
it's kind of the reason I have a hard time watching Inglourious Bastards. Is because of that scene with Christopher Waltz when he's in the farmhouse.
Oh, yes.
Because he's so good, and it's just
Christopher Waltz, when he's speaking 4 languages in that movie fluently.
Yeah,
which he does. German, French, English, and Italian. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, Rocky is amazing. Rocky, and it's interesting. Rocky and First Blood made me want to become a screenwriter. So it was those 2 films that made me want to become a screenwriter.
Well, I have never watched either Rocky or First Blood. I've never seen Rambo. As I said, I think that was First Blood.
Part 2, it's interesting because Part 2 on is just 80s action film. First Blood is still very much like that. You're in sort of the late 70s. It's way more story and character driven.
Mm-hmm.
Stallone actually changed the ending from the book because it's based on a book.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it was written by a literature professor, and it was you know, he had Vietnam veterans that were, you know, PTSD, you know, like, and so it was based on like, oh man, you know, it's like we train these guys and put them through hell, and then what happens if one just decides to go berserk, you know? And that's what Rambo was based on. So in the book, Rambo ends up like, I think he ends up killing himself, like, and Stallone.
Don't give it away. I might see it.
Well, you should see it. Like, well, Stallone wrote this iconic speech that Rambo, the character, gives, and it's really like really heartfelt, really well. And so it portrays veterans more sympathetically, you know. And so it's a good film, you know. You know.
So is that what made Sylvester Stallone go nuts, move to Florida, become a Trumper?
I don't know what happened there, man. Like, you know, he was always kind of, you know.
Yeah, it was a little...
It's interesting because Arnold went like in the other direction, right? Like Arnold's kind of more of a Democrat now.
Well, Arnold lived through watching his father be a Nazi, and then
you
know, like Arnold knows which way the wind could blow if these guys get in power. Like,
oh yeah, he's not going to do it.
Arnold gets it. All right, listen, I gotta go. Get in my car and drive to another state right now, and I just realized the time. So I really didn't have much FAFO today. We didn't talk much about FAFO.
But that always happens with us. It's like, we're going to talk about this, and then we get sidetracked on the stuff.
You know, it's like Rambo and Rocky and
then we get sidetracked on the stuff we actually want to talk about.
And the Berkshires and all this other stuff. Okay. So good to see everybody in the chat. We have a ton of people over on Substack. We have almost 100 people here on YouTube randomly at 1:30 this afternoon, or sorry, we're a little late. So good to see everybody. Frederick, so good to see you.
Yeah.
And yep. And then everybody else, have a fantastic weekend. I will see you with Michelle tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Mayday Coffee and Conversation. And then I guess that's that. So good to see everybody, and bye. Have a great weekend.
Have a good one.
Bye.